Hi everyone, I want to thank you for joining my show, Life Goes On. My name is Carrie, and this is brought to you by CSEP, the Senior Community Service Employment Program, helping those 55 and older find meaningful training and work opportunities. So today with me, we have volunteers from the Senior Linkage Line, Mark and Betsy. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks,
Thank
Carrie.
you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so today we're talking briefly about the Senior Linkage Line. It's got a really large umbrella, but really specifically we're going to get into Medicare, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you guys take it over, and why don't you each take a turn telling me a little bit how you actually got involved with the Senior Linkage Line, because it is all volunteer based pretty much, right?
Yes.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay. I got involved. I retired last July, about a year ago, and I got an email that said, do you want to volunteer? I don't even know how it found me, and started looking through this and, saw the Senior Linkage Line, and I thought, well, that might be interesting. So I clicked on it and put my name in and thought that was the end of it and stuff like that. A little while later, my mother called me. She lives in a different state, and she's 85, and she wanted to know if she was doing the right thing with Medicare, and she's been taking it for 20 years plus. So I said, well, let me help you. It can't be that difficult, And so she sent me her stuff, and I looked at this, and I was like, what language is this? I mean, it is so, I couldn't even comprehend what it was. So I thought, well, I'm not a dummy. I said, so let me call some people, an agent and stuff like that, and get an idea how this works. In the meantime, I got an answer back from Lee at Senior Linkage Line and wanted to know if I would volunteer for their organization, and this is one of the things they did. And I right then said, absolutely, because if I can't figure this out, for my mother, how am I going to figure it out for myself? I mean, I have to get this done. Anyways, so I called she lives in our state. I called an insurance agent in that state through the company that she had and talked for probably off and on different times, probably 6 hours on the phone.
Wow.
And at that point, I thought I had a good understanding. I'm like, okay, I know how this works, However, it was only with his company. I didn't realize that there would be a lot of other companies out there that dealt with Medicare. I'm assuming he's showing me the best one, and so we got her that plan. And it's not a bad plan. In fact, she has a supplemental plan with her Medicare and her Part D. I looked into it after I got through the training for Senior Linkage Line and found out that her Part D could have saved her probably $1,500 more a year. And she's on a very fixed income. And I really felt bad. I haven't told her that yet because we're going to renew her pretty quick, right? So I said, Mom, you know what? They're coming out with this new thing, so I think I can really help you. But fast forward, I went into the training for this program through Senior Linkage Line, and there was a 3-day class that we take. And at that point, I thought, wow, there's way more than I even knew. And when I got in that class and started going through this, I was amazed. And actually, at that point, I realized that there are so many people out there that really do not comprehend this, and I think they tend to shut down, get overwhelmed with it, and maybe we'll talk to somebody and, well, I have this, and this one's really good, so they go, well, maybe I'll just get that. And they don't really research it enough maybe to find what really works for them. And once you sign up, most places, I mean, you can change some plans during the year, but basically you end up waiting till the next open enrollment. So anyways, that's my story, and I'm glad I do it. Yeah, I'm sticking to it, yeah. Hope Mom doesn't see this.
You might be good with that one.
Yeah.
Okay. What about for you, Betsy?
Well, it's really a very similar story. I had a mother who was on my dad after he died, was a survivor, and was just paying horrendous amounts of money for insurance. And I started looking into it and just got into the whole complicated web of Medicare that Mark just talked about. So it's really, and when I retired, it was a good idea to try and find a way that I could help explain it to others. I've done teaching before, and it's fun. It's a passion for me to try and explain something difficult to make it easy. So that's really, and I've enjoyed it a lot, and I've taught the Welcome to Medicare class. And
How long have you been doing it?
this is my third year, so I still am learning a lot, you know, and every person that you work with, you learn new things, and that's what kind of helps keep you going and keeps you looking for more. So
Very different for each person, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So very cool. So,
yeah.
okay, so beforehand we were kind of talking that you guys have some key points that you would like to be able to talk about. Why don't we go ahead and start with that and discuss what kind of the major factors are. Did you want to at all talk about, before we move on, senior linkage line, anything that it does that you wanted to point out very briefly?
Yeah, we should. Why don't you, if you want to give them a few ideas?
Sure. Senior Linkage Line is an 800 toll-free number that is federally funded. Every state has a program in which they must offer a free resource to seniors who have questions about anything relating to senior aging. Whether it's housing, how do I find a place to live? How do I pay for my drugs? You know, how do I not become a victim of abuse and fraud? All kinds of things. And so this 800 number, specialists are there to help, and they can do a lot over the phone. It's amazing when I hear about how they've solved problems and gotten people on new programs and helped people appeal problems that they've had. But Mark and I are local volunteers. We're not in the Duluth office, and we can meet with people one-on-one. So if somebody said, you know, I just can't figure out how to fill out this paperwork to apply for this program, they can call Senior Linkage Line and say, I'd like to meet with a volunteer. And they will then contact somebody who lives near them to meet with them.
Local volunteer.
Local volunteers, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah,
So-
the programs are called, so if you're in Wisconsin or North Dakota or whatever, or if you have family in other states,
right.
these are called SHIP program, SHIP, and you can just Google SHIP programs for your state. Like Ohio, it's called OSHIP. Florida, it's called SHINE. You know, they have different names for them. But then they will get, when they call that number, they will get a person that will lead them to somebody like us that does the same thing
Okay.
and can help them through. And because each state can be different in their how they handle Medicare and the things they do, which we'll cover a little bit, it's a good thing that to do that and understand what your choices really are. So.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so let's go ahead and move into those pointers.
Okay, well,
sounds good.
I think it's important to really start by saying this is really a challenging time because Medicare, as you know, is a very complicated program.
Yes.
And every day now, with this whole wave of baby boomers becoming seniors, 10,000 people every day are turning 65 for the next several years. And so it's important that, that they know what their options are, that they know what Medicare is, that they know what their own medical needs are so that they can then find something that fits their needs the best. So that's why we're really trying to encourage people to call, to get involved, to read more, and to go from there. So Mark, what is Medicare?
Medicare is a
Throw it on Mark.
Good segue.
There you go.
Medicare was brought to us by Lyndon B. Johnson, I believe, back in '65. And it's a great program. I mean, when you look at, you know, what healthcare costs are right now, if you're in your late 50s and you're getting it through work, you're going to see your premiums. I mean, I know when right before I retired, premiums were, you know, $2,000 a month. That's pretty expensive. And then on top of that, you have huge co-pays and deductibles, and, you know, it gets really expensive, you know. Medicare is designed so that you can make a plan work for you. You can find a plan that'll work for you. And in Medicare, there's 3 basic types of plans in Minnesota. Minnesota has more than some of the other states, but basically you have a Medicare supplement, and people hear that, they say, oh, I have a Medicare supplement plan. They use that as a verb. I mean, you know, that supplement means all the plans. No, it's supplement is where you're buying your policy through an insurer, okay? Now, across the nation, that's actually one of the most popular programs, and they pick what's called an F plan. They have different letters, G, H, J, K, L, M, N, F, right? F's at the end, why is that? F's the most comprehensive. However, not every state offers all of those letters, then they have some different choices. In Minnesota, we're fortunate because we have what's called a Medicare cost plan, which you'll look at the cost plans through the different insurance companies. You're going to buy these directly through an insurance company, not an agent, okay? And then you have Medicare Advantage, which is Medicare Part C. Basically, differences are with the supplement in the beginning. You know, if you like to travel, if you're a snowbird and you go out, you know, for 6 months a year, you can get coverage for that. Medicare cost plans, a lot of them will allow that too. And an Advantage plan, you have to make sure it's there, it's in the policy to do it. But basically, an Advantage plan is you're in a network. You're in if you're living up in the Duluth area, you're in this network. You know, whether it be Alena or Fairview or whatever, but you're going to be in that network that you need to pick your doctors and stuff from. Prices are going to be all over the place. I see premiums from, I see 0 premiums, right, up to $600 a month. And that's just for your, the Advantage or the, any one of the 3, okay? You have a Part B premium that you pay also for all 3. Part A, which is most people get free. And then you have a drug plan that's called Part D. So very confusing.
Yeah, maybe we should go back one step and just talk about, you know, Medicare itself, the 2 have what they call the Parts A, B, and D. Medicare, the federal program that everyone is eligible for at 65 if they've paid in Social Security. But that was never designed to cover all of the costs of your health care. It was designed to help people pay for it. So it covers about 80%. So it's that other 20% that people need to find, or if they can, you don't have to find an additional plan that Mark's been talking about to kind of supplement and to cover what they call, you've heard of Medigap, that's one of them, that fills in the gaps of what Medicare doesn't cover. But Medicare itself, the original Medicare program, really has 3 main parts. Part A, which is the hospital, so it covers hospitalization, in-hospital, ambulance, that kind of stuff. Part B, which is all of the doctor's services and the outpatient and medical stuff, and equipment, walkers and supplies and things like that. And then Part D is the drug plan, which was added, that was not part of original Medicare, but it didn't take long for people to realize that they weren't being able to cover their drug costs either. So a plan came in, and you are required to have a drug plan, whether or not it's through an employer plan or if you have a veteran, if you're a veteran's benefit, but you must have some kind of drug coverage. So with these parts A, hospital, B, medical, doctors, and D, drugs, that's the Medicare world. And then the premiums for that, most people, if they've worked 10 years and paid into the Social Security, you don't have to pay anything for your hospital part, Part A. Part B, the doctor's parts, you do have to pay a monthly premium. Usually it's out of your Social Security check if you are taking that. And that's about $121 right now. It goes up a little. And for the drug part of it, there also is a premium for that, but that Medicare does not pay that directly. It just approves programs to pay for your drug costs. So you'd have your own drug program that would have a premium. And then within that, as Mark was saying, all the variations, these additional plans that you can add on to that have their own premiums. They usually, the higher the premium you pay, the less out-of-pocket cost you pay. So that's the balancing act that Mark was talking about, and that for your needs, you need to look and see, well, this plan doesn't have any copays for a doctor, but I have to pay $50 if I want to get x-rays taken. Well, if you have a lot of x-rays, that's not going to be a good plan for you.
Right.
You know, and if you're very healthy and you don't need to see a doctor other than for your annual physical, then a low premium plan wouldn't be bad for you because you don't mind paying $40. So that's really, it's this whole world of what's called original Medicare that the federal government set up, plus the whole world of the insurance companies that add on plans to that. But it's important, what's really important about Medicare is that you do have to enroll, because these Part B, the doctors and outpatient services, they're often available through retiree plans or through other kinds of, that you don't have to look for a separate one. But if you don't enroll in Part B when you join Medicare, and then down the road you need it, you have a penalty added onto it for the time that you haven't had it.
So it'd be easier to enroll in it right away.
Right.
And
Is it
possibly
10%?
never use it.
It's a 10% penalty if you.
Right.
Which can get, yeah.
So
Every year.
to enroll in Medicare, you want to talk about when you enroll in Medicare?
You enroll, you will get if you're on Social Security, you'll get a packet from Medicare that you'll get your card in the mail and give you the instructions what to do for your Part A and Part B, but you're automatically enrolled in that at 65. Actually, you'll get the card 3 or 4 months before you do turn 65, okay?
Right.
But if you don't get it, yes, you can call them, or you can call us, or whatever, you can get help to make sure you get that card, because you don't want to be late going in. Well, I mean, you can go, your Medicare starts the month you turn 65. So if your birthday is January 29th, your coverage is going to start the 1st of January, okay? So you get 7 months. The open enrollment is 7 months, and that's 3 months before your birthday, the month of your birthday, and 3 months after your birthday.
Right.
Okay?
And then if you do choose to have any kind of an additional supplemental plan, that you generally can only do once a year during open enrollment, which is October 15th through December 7th every year. And that's a time when you can look and say, gee, the plan that I got last year works great for me, you know, or no, I have, when I had a stroke, now I need a lot more medical care, so I think I better get a different plan that gives me better coverage. And the most important thing is that every year you should check your drug plan for Part D, because not every insurance company, the insurance company that has the drug plan that you're on, not every company has the same list of drugs that they cover.
Okay.
And so there's a way on the Medicare.gov website, we can help you do that, or you can do it on your own. You can enter all your drugs on the list, and then it will select all of the drug plans that fit that best, that list of drugs. So it'll say all but one of your drugs is covered, or all but two, or your drugs are all covered. That's really, really important for people, because especially now with all the new kind of brand drugs, you could be paying thousands of dollars more a month if you're not covered. It's either a difference between a copay of $37 or $40 seems high, but yet the drug, if you had to pay for it out of pocket, would be $3,000.
Okay.
You know, I mean, really. So that's what's really
Huge
important, is
difference.
that people check that every year and make sure that that's working.
And it does tell you when you go to your Medicare.gov and you put all your books, all your drugs in, it'll show you the plans. You can show, it'll say plans with drug plans, plans without drug plans, and drug plans. You know, 3 choices, and you can click on those. But it will show you with those drugs, tells you if they're all in formulary, yes or no, and on the left-hand side, it will tell you what your annual cost is going to be for your drugs. It makes it very easy to see, oh, if I pick this plan, I'm only have to pay $700 for my prescriptions this year, and the premium is X number of dollars, and then it goes down in cost, right? I mean, the higher it goes down, it gets more expensive, and you know, you'll see a big spread in premiums and drugs. Okay, if you call Senior Linkage Line, they will mail out one of the books that makes it very easy to understand Medicare to some degree. I'll show you a copy of it here. They can, they'll send this out, and there is instructions like how to go into Medicare and start your own plan. And you know what? If you're 62 or 61 or 60 and you want to say, boy, I wonder what it's going to cost me. I'm really interested in knowing, because you really should start checking soon to kind of prepare what it might cost you. You just go in there and it'll tell you how. You just put your zip code in and put down the prescriptions that you're taking. If it asks for a date of birth, just backdate it so that you're showing 65. But you can see what kind of plans you'll be looking at in today's plans,
Okay.
and kind of give you an idea down the road what you might have to do. I know I was very curious. I'm 63. I've gone on there several times to look and see what it would be, and it does make it easier for you to understand it.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so we only have about 5 minutes left. Any other pointers that you want to touch while we have a few minutes left to talk about it?
Well, maybe before, we want to talk more about senior linkage line, but maybe before that, so the process, if you are in your 50s or early 60s, the process is that you would wait for this, the 3 months before your birthday when you get all the stuff.
Yep.
You then have to enroll in Medicare. You can do that online, on the phone, in person at the Social Security office here in Hibbing, and then kind of decide whether or not you need to take the Part B of Medicare, because if you have employer coverage, if you have other kinds of programs, federal retiree benefits, that may be just as good, and you may not need to make a change at that point. But still enroll in Medicare. There's a way that you can say, I do not want Part B at this point, and
Right.
then you can enroll in it later. The next step is to then think about the extra plan that you might want to get that will fill in all the gaps, that will give you additional coverage. And that's where the book is wonderful. It gives you all these different options. And that's where many people will call Senior Linkage Line and ask questions. I'm only 62, but is this kind of the thing? Or they say, I'd like to sit down and I can't figure out all these different plans in the book. There's a gazillion of them.
Yeah.
So we can help you go through and kind of talk about what what you think your needs are going to be and help you make that choice. And then you can either enroll online, or we can help you do that, or whatever. So that's really, and then we can also, to kind of get a sense of how to watch for things when the paperwork comes in, make sure that what is on your paperwork that you're being charged for, that Medicare is paying for, you actually had, because mistakes happen, and you can say, I was never at that clinic that day. So that's just the ongoing, and every year in the fall to kind of review and look over your plan, what you had during the year, whether that's a good one, and if you want to make a change.
Okay.
So that's
Okay, so they have that enrollment time, the 7-month period, and then every year they have the open enrollment time in the fall.
right.
So between that yearly mark, they can't really do anything, right? They're just kind of, they have to wait till the next open enrollment before they can change at all. Can you drop anything?
No, they can chant, yes.
It depends on the kind of plan you have. The
Right.
plans have different flexibility for when you can do that.
Okay.
The Part C Advantage plan, you cannot. You have to wait until the next enrollment period.
Okay.
But there are some you can. And of course, if you have a change, if you move out of the area that your plan serves, or if there's some other life, if you
Yeah.
leave your job, if you're retired in the middle of the year, you get special enrollment periods so that you can take
Okay.
care of everything that you need to
Very good.
sign up for.
Very good.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about how these statements and stuff like that are just, they can be complicated to read.
Right, right.
And actually understanding your statement
Yes.
afterwards. So are you available to, after a person's had already gone through the enrollment, if something
Yes.
looks funny, that you can talk them through their statements?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
we encourage
Yep.
them.
Call Senior Linkage Line,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
can probably even do that on the phone.
Right.
But if they want to meet with someone, they can certainly ask, and we, if local volunteers, happy to meet with them.
Right.
Okay.
We're not the only two. There's lots of us out there.
There's lots of, yeah.
Lots
yeah.
of clones out there.
But when you say that, understanding paperwork, not too long ago I had somebody came in and brought me 2 years worth of all of their medical bills, their insurance bills, and their Medicare statements, and we had them all spread out on the table trying to figure it out.
Oh, I
So-
can imagine that must have been
We did. We got them all straightened out.
Yeah.
very good. Okay, so you said a few moments ago that You wanted to touch a little bit more on senior linkage line before you close. What was it that you wanted to?
Senior linkage line can help you with more things than just Medicare. Within Medicare too. I mean, if there's fraud, if you suspect there's been any fraud, you can call them. Abuse, if you feel that you've been abused, if you didn't, if you're going to complain about what kind of service you got,
Appeals.
yes, and appeals, they can help you, especially appeals. They can fast track an appeal. You know, if you have an issue where, let's say you were put in as a outpatient and they're under observation, and now that's going to be charged to you different, and you got to appeal that. They can help you with things like that.
Okay.
It just makes it easier for you, for a person to, they know there's somewhere to go, and it's very helpful.
Last year, I think in 2015, senior linkage line served about 125,000 people across the state.
Okay.
In calls and
That's
stuff.
a huge
So
number.
Yep. There are
Yes.
7 call centers around Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you two very much for coming on my show. It's been a pleasure to. I have a long ways to go, but it's very good, knowledgeable, especially with my my work that I have to do to be able to know those things. Because I do have people that say, "Oh, I'm on this and this and this," and I'm like, "No clue. I really have no idea what you're saying. It sounds very Klingon to me, but that's okay." So I'll leave it at that. So
Great.
thank you again for coming.
Great.
So
Thanks,
Perfect.
Carrie.
Thanks,
We enjoyed
Carrie.
being here.
Yeah.
All right, you have been watching Life Goes On. This has been brought to you by CSEP, the Senior Community Service Employment Program, helping those that are 55 and older find meaningful and training work and employment opportunities. I'm getting your tongue tied in here now as well as we hit the end of the show. So we are taking enrollments for CSEP, so if you're interested and wondering what the program is all about and how I can help you, please feel free to get in touch with me, and thank you.
Good. Perfect. That was a pleasure.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you.